when I say transgender, how would you define transgender? Sandra, I'll let you go first.
So transgender, a person born in a particular sex has feeling or emotion. It differs. That's a basic thing, no? So I'm born as a male, but inside I'm female, or the vice versa. So that's the basic thing about transgender.
Mahati, would you like to add anything to that, or is your definition? Okay. And my definition is also the same, like person who's born in a particular sex, like a male born, someone born as male, inside they think they are female, or vice versa. That's transgender, right? So in this definition, I heard three things that are, I heard three things. Your sex, in birth sex, is different from what you think inside your sex is. Like, inside you think there's an opposite to that. So I heard three things. So now if we were to put these three things together, oh, by the way, before we try to do anything with this, do you guys think we should be using anything else other than these three?
Yeah, I don't think you should use the word thinking. Because
Because
it's a truth, it's not a thought. It's very different. A person that's transgendered doesn't think that they're in another gender. They honestly believe it.
So
it is so much more definite than
Thank you,
thinking.
Chris.
Thinking is an idea.
Yeah. Has no signal, so I can't help you with that at the moment.
Thank you. In fact, we were talking about this, exactly this. Thinking is definitely the wrong word. We said it is sense of self, right? So thank you for that. So with these three, Sandra, would you like to try a gesture, or would anyone like to? This is a great time for you guys to try also, because we tried.
We tried, so we're having a hard time testing it.
No, I can only tell you why the term also interests me so much more. It's because even when we play, like the question that I asked Priyanti today, right? Like even when we play man and woman, I don't think we think about gender so deeply at all, because I asked myself this question: what does it mean actually to feel like a man? I don't even know if can that be defined. Is it a defined thing in the sense that if I feel like a woman and she feels like a woman, is this the same thing? Is what each of us are identifying with? Is it one? Because with the body, right, there is a definition to, okay, what was defined as a gender or another gender or whatever. So, which is why I'm very interested.
I think that's very interesting. In this particular case, and relating to your question to Priyanka, are we saying feeling there, or are we showing how a girl, a man, or a woman behaves, like external, how they conduct themselves?
It's a very complicated question, right?
It is.
Because my input is coming from the people I see around me. That may not be the definition of men or women or whatever. So it's actually a delicate.
What if, just a hypothetical thought, drawing from your point of view, what if a child since childhood has been brought up as a woman, as a female, as we term it today, but then she grows, but the terminology that they use is, oh, no, you're a boy. Just imagine growing up, but then we learn the terms girl and boy, or male and female, and we are taught to associate them with certain things, certain characteristics, certain ways of behavior. But what if, say, I have grown up as a girl, as I am, but I kind of switch the terms. I've been taught to switch the terms. I've been taught that I'm a boy, not a girl. Like, where exactly does the outside influences come into play? How much have we actually been made to believe exactly? I don't know if I'm putting it the right way.
I mean, it depends, because like when I've spoken to transgendered women who there's a huge difference between transgendered and people that are transitioning gender. Like it's a huge scope of things. Like we are really oversimplifying this to the point of pain. Like you
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
transgenders very different to people that elect to change their sexual appearance, right? So it depends which one of those you're talking about. Because if you're talking about a person that is born with both genders in their body, it's a very different conversation to someone that is male and elects or desires or has to turn into a female. I remember I personally, and my 5 cents has always been this, is the more you talk about gender, the more divisive it gets. Trying to get a hand gesture to represent something that is so vast and so many ideas into it seems almost rude, like in a way. I totally get your sexuality comes into it, your preference comes into it. I think even in your sexual preference, your positioning in that preference, there's so many things when you start talking about sexuality that I don't know though existed when all of these codes were being made, but weren't being defined like they are now. Like I am like the specificity that we are getting to of being a cisgendered male who presents as this, who has pronouns of that, who, like, you know what I mean? We are getting to a point where we are adjectiving the crap out of our own selves. So it's just, how do you define all of that in a simple hand gesture?
I just want to say, sorry, just in response, I just want to say two things to that. See, this need to excessively categorize is something I think as a society, human beings seem to want to belong to a category
for sure.
of some sort.
Of
Therefore, we have these,
for sure.
huge number of alphabets that are coming up, which ultimately I don't think should matter, right? Every person is a person. Yet that having been said, we are living in a society which has created these kind of two major categories, which you automatically expected to fall under one or the other. And even when it comes to dance, then I don't know if there were gestures before or not, but what survives today is I know how to show a man, I know how to show a woman.
But even then, Apoorva, that perception of that is based on a time period that we are not living in right now.
Which perception?
Think about that. So if you want to do a female, if me and he want to do a female javali, what will we do? We'll go into the well, we'll pick up the water, we'll put a column, we'll do all of those things to signify that we're female, right? Because those are female attributed ideas. Do you wake up every day and put a column? Do you go to the well? I'm just saying like this.
Like we're coming back now to obviously that becomes like time bound, right?
Yeah.
In the sense that, of course, I mean, what women did 50 years back, they don't do now, and you probably pick up on those clues so that your audience relates to it. But the fact is, I have a gesture that is supposed to mean woman. What does that mean? Where did it come from? Then what is this supposed to represent? Is it the body? Is it an identity? Right? If this can exist, then why can there not be, we're not talking about behavioral patterns, what people wear, but why can there not be a gesture that maybe not transgender or one more bracket, I don't know, but to represent people who don't conform to these two categories we've created.
And you Chris, you talked about like sexuality, right? That's nothing to do with transgender, right? There are many different words, transsexual, all those different things. I think here we should limit ourselves to only, and we talked about this, right? We debated about this. I think when you say transgender, it is as simple as the 3 things we identified. You are born into a sex, and you know you are not that sex. That's it. Those 3 lakshanas, so to speak, right? That's transgender. Right? And I agree with you. I think there should be, why not, right? Everyone wants to belong like you.
There is, at least for that distinction, we generally use 2 terms. One is biological sex and something called gender. It's very hard to define gender. We are gendering. Sex is very objective, like very extremely biological. So that's what our people, when we say Purusha and Sri, they are actually meaning sex, but not gender.
Yeah.
In that sense, biologically, the third Napumsaka, which they also have, is there already. Some texts also have gestures for it. The fact of the matter is, they have a biological relation. The gendering, they don't touch. In Indic text also, gendering is a very sensitive area. Because anywhere, any culture would, any intelligent culture.
The biological definition of Napumsaka.
biologically there are features for certain people, certain features are not developed.
Hermaphrodite?
I'm sorry?
Like a hermaphrodite?
That's
Like
not,
hermaphrodite.
So you're both.
No, the only thing was, whosoever had yesterday's boxing was very little, I could say, very broad, biological. It's completely based on the child or the certain physical features. Like they don't agree with gendering per se. Sex, the differentiation between what you call a sex and gendering. Gendering is absolutely something to do with culturing around what influences, what goes within. That they don't interfere.
So you are saying JC Shastras, like what we know of, they don't talk about the gender at all.
No, gender fluidity was the code. It's a very interesting thing because we translate as gender in the translation books. It's a very tricky matter because in India, to be very frank, gender in Indian culture allows for gender fluidity so much so that I can completely feel a male. I've been born a male, but I can have all the right to feel a female. And say I am a Gopika throughout my life. I am yearning for Sri Krishna. Throughout my life, I can say that, and I can say my name is Radha. So there are many people who are given that license through religious has given to you a certain. There are people like that.
So that's an interesting point, right? We three were saying, okay, let's look at our mythology, our history, and then try to think whether there are any transgender people in our mythology and in our history. And we kind of like mentioned Brahmanara, and we kind of like talked about it, and none of us agreed Brahmanara is a transgender.
No, he's not a transgender.
Not, right? Shikandi, obviously not. We talked about Mohini, and then we are like, not.
That's not-
So
not. It's
basically,
completely
we
changed.
came up with like 7-8 names, such things. None of them fit. So we were wondering, we were thinking, there are none for us to go by as an example.
This is one of the crux of the matter. Like gender fluidity is at its maximum in any of these long-living cultures. Not necessarily Indic camps.
Right, of
Anyone who has
course,
survived
yes.
on this millennium and the
Yeah.
Earth's crust for many
Right.
such cultures understood the very sensitivity of whatever we are discussing today are the emotions when we speak about the word gender
Right.
anywhere. And for the most physical, gross representation, body has been taken into reference. If you feel such as features, put them into this box. This is feature, this box. If these two features are not there, there's a broad spectrum in between. We actually don't know what this biologically is. It's transgender, there is that. These are little ideal situations. They are broad basis. So why I say that, this equating the internal to be a female, to be a male, or that to be a male, this to be a female, that's one of the crux of the matter of this entire literature which was born later. I'm saying post-5th century, want to unite with something, yearning to be something, taking the license of a female's voice. These are all very interesting.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily transgender either, right?
No. See, transgender is one prototype out of this. There are multiple. There's not even one box thing. It's a spectrum. There is you put a marker there, then you define this, so much percentage of this, so much percentage of that, so much percentage of this. It's like it's not even one singular thing. It's a plane. Gender today, they also say gender is not a line. Gender is a plane. Certain people argue it's a black box. Gender studies are far more advanced than what we think. For them, their plotting becomes from multiple dimensions. Because conveniently it has gone to some other levels of discussion. What is gender? What is transgender? As he rightly asked, is in the debate. This would crop up.
So on this,
Just add one thing.
yes, please.
I think on Anna's point, it's not a problem, but I think there's also the aspect of language, because he was saying how gender it can't really be translated into any Indian language that we know.
I agree that it is complicated, and I agree that it is a touchy subject.
Very
But at the end of the day, I think there is a simple concept here that self-identification of what the society calls male or female is not same as what's assigned in the birth or what society thinks it is in the birth. There is that definition which is definitive, right? So I'm saying if we were to come up with a hasta or series of gestures to show this idea, it should be possible. I don't think it is a nebulous thing, should not stop us from doing it.
What does this mean then?
Yeah.
If you're holding as a female, one word answer. What does this mean?
Other box.
Is it supposed to be like baby holding a flower? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, you're holding. One of the thing is about holding the exactly. You
It's
got
either
it.
holding the nipple or it's holding the flower.
Exactly,
right?
holding the booster.
Right. Okay, got it.
That auspice of holding the Purna Kumbha or
Because
holding.
that makes it very different. When you think about, so if this is holding the nipple, right, and if this is a phallic symbol, then you've got two very they're distinct, right? Like that's the difference. So now you are talking about the physical gender rather than
Body.
from the minute you
Physical
said this,
body.
right? I started thinking because I remember when he told me what this means.
Yeah.
So if this is a female and this
But
is
then
holding the
you can
bosom,
say
then-
what you did, like at birth, at birth, if you're externally female, internally male, it's a very physical, you were talking about a very set
See,
thing.
one thing
At
like,
birth,
yeah.
you're there, and
It's a
then
concept.
this is disappearing and this is your inside. Like that's all the concept you wanted to put across.
Yeah.
Before we
Yeah.
got there, I quickly want to ask on this conversation, but we'll get there before you. So, how would we explain this is a bird? Or this
Bird.
is a bird also?
Okay.
So, if it is a box, and if this is symbol for
See, one thing is about to show a female, like what
Yeah.
are the different parts that also is that representing physically, not a female. One of them, they would say the forehead point. And the cheek point, the chin. So like, to be very honest, like one to show a bala, a young girl, there are marks to say this is a bala. Like arguments like when she is matured, the place where the focus shifts is the cheek and the chin. This changes. There's a shape which starts coming here. So that's why to show a young Yavana, this part is focused. Either you do this or this. Look at this part to show which age it is. So when you show she is far more younger, the forehead, this cranium starts setting. So this is a part, they have shown this for a young baby. These are very physical nature. They would say eye is the second point when they start. When the in between is eye. Eye, the chupu, they say in Telugu, the chupu sets for a little more. When you're the pubescent stage, this phase sets. Then naturally the next phase which sets is this bosoms and hips. And when married, this becomes this. See, they are very physical, anatomical, physiognomy of a woman, defining the age. That's why there is a way from Shikhar also. Like this is for a younger lady, and after this becomes this. The knee sets. The final thing after being a mother, what sets is the knee part, this part, pelvic part. Pelvic part opens and henceforth it sets. So for a very established pragalpa, this is the pragalpa. The walk of a pragalpa is showing that like this. So these are physiognomy if you want to call it.
I think my question still stands, because if we call this as a box, then how are we saying this is also a bird?
No, shape.
Just the shape.
The shape, you're playing with the shape here.
Okay, got it.
This is the bird, this is holding the bosom kind of a thing.
Okay.
Initially, in all perspectives, should be kapita.
Okay.
And that getting beautified into holding a katakam or a kataka, this is a very interesting transitions we have.
Okay.
Hold this. That's another interesting thing, which hasta to which hasta you can transit. A kapita to katakamakam or a katakam is a very natural transition. Many a times to hold this, you to hold this, to hold this, hold this. Very normal. Bird, this, normal. And also this, which we are not using off late. It's okay. Now, to show a bird, it's only a shape. It's basically a shape for fluttering, you're using it. The noun form. But when you open it physical, that's why you see in the charts it's very physical in nature. They don't. That you're trying to explore something emotional.
I think I like your idea of showing that with the birth, it's a girl or a boy. So basically now we have divided transgender into two, right? Born male feels female, born female feels male, which we kind of like talked about. Maybe it is easier if we did that than to show. So I think in that case, if you did this and then went like this, I think that could be a series of gestures to show.
You're born,
Yes.
but you're not either. You have an external and you have an internal, so they both are valid.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to really quite execute that. But I don't think it's like you're born one and then you pick.
So
I don't think there's a kind of
that's
because
yeah,
Yeah.
but one thing I want to say is to say anything internal, we use this area. To
Yeah.
say anything born, otherly, something like that, we use this
or
area.
maybe that you could notate
Right?
the difference.
So there is that. So if we want to use this or this, and then also we use this. This is a hasta for a lot of us. Like we have.
I didn't want to cross. I
Right?
want to have it not not like this way, but on.
Was choosing right in front of one
Yeah.
another.
If we
Not
do-
crossing. Here, she did this.
Yeah, so I think where I am going with that is there a chance to getting confused with that?
There's always going to be a chance of getting wrong. Yeah.
But don't we have to consider a fact like that?
Clarity,
I'm just
conversation.
being
I
devil's
guess.
advocate here. You know?
I mean, there's lots of ways you can position a hand gesture. The intent of the idea rather than the positioning of the hand gesture, right? Intent of what the gesture is supposed to mean rather than going, this gesture is going to define the whole concept. You can't rely on every audience knowing everything about it and they're going to go, wow, that's so intelligent. You're going to do this? Every sabamama or every auntie that comes to Kachas is going whether you thought about it for months or thought about it for a minute, it makes no difference. So I think it's a great idea, especially if it's
That's not what I'm saying. I think
No,
it's
no,
a
no.
great idea. Like
That can
I
cause
I'm just saying, like,
confusion.
as devil's advocate to your devil's advocate. That's all I'm saying.
I think it just clarified if you had a different positioning.
I would definitely go with born here and then inner self here because that's the convention. Right? This is always about